Let's start at the basics and let's pretend you live in a bubble and you somehow never heard of Tucker and Dale versus Evil. How would you describe this movie?
Oh man, there's so many approaches here. I would say it's a comedy before it's a horror. First of all, which I don't want to disappoint any of the horror fans. There's plenty of gore in there, but it's a funny fucking movie. That's how I describe it. It's like surprisingly funny. It'll grab you by the boo boo.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about the shoot itself? Where'd you guys shoot? How long was shoot?
Sure.
Any unforeseen challenges arise?
Oh yeah, so many, man. We shot in Calgary in June of 2010, I guess, and we right out of the gates in June, it decided to hail. I'm talking about like giant, like golf ball size precipitation, and that was challenge number one because on day two, I had to jump into that stupid little lake where we rescued Katrina Bowden,
Yeah.
and it had frozen over. It was such a small lake that it froze in like a matter of 2 days, and it had just thawed out like the day before. And I had to jump into like just a recently thawed lake on day two of shooting, so that was challenging. Got mild hypothermia,
Oh,
also a challenge.
wow.
There was lots of things, man, and we shot the whole movie in 24 days, I think, which is insane because it was a pretty ambitious movie. A couple things had to be cut out because we just didn't have time to shoot them. So and the movie itself throughout the whole shooting process was like the whole thing was a challenge. It was very sort of run and gun, a lot of it, and pretty guerrilla, and we had to make a lot of executive decisions on the day while we were actually already there with cameras up and everything, and it was a real challenge to make the movie, period. But it turned out pretty well, I think. So.
Let's talk a little bit about the supporting cast. They've kind of fallen into the background in the minds of a lot of fans. Obviously, Tucker and Dale are the kind of characters that steal the show, but
Right.
but there's some good support, especially from Jesse Moss and Katrina
Yeah.
Bowden. How do you think the rest of the cast performed, and what was it like working with them?
Well, I thought they performed really well. I mean, all of them are super good. I mean, they did exactly what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be these cliched college kids that you kind of hate. And that's exactly what they do. And working with them was infrequent. Alan and I were basically shooting a different movie. We didn't actually have a lot of interactions with the college kids until the end, where we're all meet up in the cabin. I think we only shot together with them like 4 or 5 days at the whole shoot. So it was like they actually were a bunch of college kids in Calgary. They were all hanging out and drinking at night and doing their thing. And Alan and I were off shooting like every night, and we didn't see each other that much, which is a bummer because I know most of those actors from Vancouver. So I'm a Vancouver boy myself, but yeah, we didn't. We definitely had different experiences making this movie.
The on-screen chemistry in this flick is unique in the sense that it's almost abnormally realistic between Tucker and Dale. What was
Yeah.
it? What was it like on set? I mean, was shooting this picture as easy, or maybe I should say natural as it seems?
Yeah, I mean, Alan showed up really late in the game. We actually, excuse me, had another actor locked into that part of Tucker until about a week before production. And Alan kind of came in and saved the day, and I met him 2 days before we started shooting. And I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I don't know if it's luck or serendipity or whatever you want to call it, but we met each other and just hit it off right away. And the crazy thing about those characters is that was the movie really hinged on that. It was like, okay, I better get along with this guy. And Alan's just such a fantastic guy, but on top of that, he's an amazing actor. And I think I found myself really wanting to show off for him. So I was a fan of his going into it. He didn't know who I was. That's another story. But I went into it sort of being like, I'm gonna act the shit out of this movie to just show off for Alan Tudyk. And it just became this very obvious to me that I didn't have to. I didn't have to work really, really hard with this guy because it was all sort of just there. We found the characters. Once we met each other, I feel like I really found the character of Dale, and I don't know, we're still good friends to this day. It's a real testament to the fact that the on-screen chemistry that you see was really sort of actually happening at the time. Alan and I were just getting to know each other and kind of like learning about each other on camera, which I think kind of makes it fun to watch. You know?
So if you had the chance to work with him again, you'd jump on it.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah. In fact, I look for reasons. Everything I do, I'm like, hey, is there any room for like an Alan Tudyk in this? Can we figure out a way to work with Alan on this? Yeah, I don't think he does the same for me. But I would work with Alan again in a heartbeat. Yeah.
There's a real obvious kind of vintage grindhouse 70s 80s feel to the film, and
Sure.
and like a lot of the eventual classic flicks of that time and era, there's a mold intentionally followed in the film. You know, there's plenty of cliche characters and predictable ideas, but you can see that it's all played for fun, and the movie's obviously self-aware. Given the thick comedy of this one, would you consider it more of a tribute type of film, or a friendly poke at the old run-of-the-mill cliches?
I don't even know if it's a friendly poke. I mean, obviously it's a send-up of a lot of, horror trope, but it's like, it was more of like a deconstruction, I think, of those cliched characters and storylines. I don't necessarily think it was because Eli loves those movies. I think he just was able to find a real comedy niche that hadn't been tapped into yet, with like putting that kind of those genres on its ear. But I know he definitely, he's a fan of like the classic horror movies, but he's a comedy writer. He was just mining sort of well-worn territory for unfound gold, and that's what I think this movie was. It was like he just had a whole backlog of like ready-made things that were ripe for parody, but he didn't want to just parody them. He wanted to make a movie, he wanted to basically make a genre-bending film, and I think that's what he did. It's hard to put this movie into any category except for just being funny, I think.
A lot of successful filmmakers and actors have told me they knew they had something special when they were shooting certain films. Did you get that same feeling while you were shooting this movie?
No. I wish I could say, oh man, Alan and I would ride home at night and be like, oh man, we're really doing it, aren't we, buddy? But it was not that at all. There was a lot of confusion, and like I said, it was pretty run and gun, sort of get it in one take, get in, get out. And Alan and I would regularly be driving home at the end of a 14, 15-hour day, and going over in the van ride home, being like, okay, what did we miss? What did we fucking miss? We missed something. Did we get that? I think we got that. Did you notice? Did that joke land? Is that going to play? We were just constantly worried. What did we just shoot? Like, what are we getting here? And when we finished the movie, we were both sort of like, and Eli too. I mean, we didn't know much about Eli. It was his first feature. It's not that we didn't trust him. We just were kind of like, well, who knows what he wanted? We tried to give him what he wanted. Who knows what he's going to do with it? But then, at the end of the movie, we were like, well, that's never going to see the light of day. That's not going anywhere. And nice to meet you. Made a good friendship out of it. You know what I mean? But then we saw the cut, a really, really rough cut. And we brought a bunch of friends and watched it at the Henson Studios, and we were like, oh, holy shit. Eli, we owe you an apology. You really knew what you were doing. This is good, man. And there were a lot of things that we argued with him about on set that he was really adamant about. We were kind of like, well, fuck, whatever. It's his movie. Let him do it. And those things stayed in the movie, and they're the things that really, really make the movie work. So, it was a battle making the movie, and finishing it. But the end result was just very obviously worth it, in every way, shape, and form. So
yeah, I really like the just the real small details. The fingers get cut off and come back. Oh fuck, this is bowling fingers.
Yeah.
The things like that are just they slay you.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing about the movie was that the comedy coming from Alan and I had to be played like from a real place.
Yeah.
We couldn't like wink at the camera or really stick it up. You know, it had to be pretty simply played, like truthful comedy.
Yeah.
And moments like that, I mean, they cut off his bowling fingers. I mean, I had to really, really be heartbroken about the fact that his bowling fingers cut off. Wasn't making a joke there. I was really, really heartbroken, you know. And that was the whole, I guess, like, crux of the movie is that everything had to be sort of played for realism, or otherwise we would just made like a parody film, you know, like a scary movie or whatever, you know. But I think it plays so much more subtly, I guess, than you know, us winking at the camera all the time.
With the market being flooded with all these remakes and found footage flicks, how important do you think this movie is? I mean, realistically, it's good enough that it has the potential to sway trends right now.
Sure. That's cool. I never heard that. I agree, and the funny thing is we've been behind this movie for like 2 years now, you know, and thank God for Magnet releasing. They're doing a cool thing right now, you know. And they are swaying trends right now as a releasing a distribution company for sure.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the need for new material and new comedy is so ravenous out there that's why this response has been so good. Is that this is really an original idea, and it's genre bending, and people are just eating it up because. You're right. It's a result of the fact that there's just not that many original ideas out there anymore with reboots and revamps and remakes and everything's a you know. It's like, let's get some new shit out there. And I think even if the movie itself, which we obviously think is important and really funny, even if it's not, you know, the most, you know, important film ever made, it might represent something important, like a change of the tides. Maybe we need to get more original ideas out there. And, you know, it'd be nice to be sort of at the forefront of that, or mentioned in those kind of conversations. You know, that, you know, Tucker and Dale kind of maybe put things back on the right track. I don't know. And with the comedy horror thing, I just think that it's a mind. It's ready. You know, it's so ripe for taking. Like it's got to be taken advantage of, and you know, not that many people are doing it. So,
you know,
hopefully more people will start to try it.
You know, the reception has obviously been pretty damn incredible. You know, how does it feel to know all the work you put into the movie is being acknowledged and so highly praised?
Yeah, it feels really, really good. I wish I had a cooler answer than that, but it just feels really good to like be in a movie that is genuinely, you know, critically and just by, you know, the public, the fans, everyone seems to really, really like it, and it's vindicating because, you know, you as an actor, it's the odds are you're gonna make a lot of shit in your career. You know, just a lot of things that get made are shit, and this movie isn't, and it's a proud moment for any actor, I think, when you realize that you're in a movie that might actually be good and that people are responding to. And I also feel like you said, like an important movie. It sounds so sort of braggadocio or whatever, but the longevity, I think, of this movie is really going to prove to be something else. You know, I think it's like I can imagine doing the 20-year, you know, Tucker Dale reunion screening, you know, or putting together a Criterion Collection DVD,
absolutely,
or Blu-ray, or whatever stupid invention they have 20 years from now, and it's still having some sort of cultural relevance. You know, I think it's that kind of movie, and people really can't get enough of it, which is fucking cool.
You know, at this point, it really doesn't seem like there's any reason you need to try and sell the movie. You know, it's kind of doing that on its own. But for the sake of my own personal curiosity, what would you tell somebody who asks you why they should see this movie?
Just the only thing I can think of when people ask me that question is like, do you like watching good movies? Then go watch this movie. That's sort of it. It's like I said, there's no real pitch for this movie that makes any sense when you try and spell it out.
Yeah.
It's just, if you like watching good movies that are entertaining and funny, just watch this movie. That's all I can say at this point.